So the first thing that I feel like you need to know if you want to use carnivore to heal your eczema. Are you one of the few? This is the channel for you. My name is Victoria and I make eczema related skincare content because I've had eczema my entire life and I just don't think there's enough eczema related content out there. But today is really for anybody who is suffering with skin issues because if we are honest, they are all one and the same and you can tend to use a carnivore diet to heal them. But there are some things to note. First of all, note, I'm not a doctor. Cheers. I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist or anything of the like. So this is just anecdotal. This is just you doing your research. Please do not throw the baby out with the bathwater and always talk to your doctor first before you jump into anything like this. So the first thing that I feel like you need to know if you want to use carnivore to heal your eczema is to understand that there is a transition period of transition. All right. If you are eating a standard American diet and then you decide tomorrow that you want to go carnivore, you are going to have a very difficult time. And there are, a small subsect of people in the world that can just white knuckle it and just go cold turkey. But I would say for the vast majority of people, they need to have a transition time. So what that could look like is it's October. I'm going to go carnivore in December. So this month, I'm just going to focus on cutting out sugar. Then I'm going to start cutting out grains and then I'll go keto. And then lastly, I will go carnivore. I think this is the most sustainable way to make such a big change in your life with the least drama to your body. You're gonna have more long lasting results. I actually did this by accident over the last year, slowly cutting out different things, not with carnivore necessarily in mind, although I always wanted to do carnivore, but it just kind of happened that way. And I realized now it's been an easy transition for me compared to perhaps would have been like if I went from standard American diet to just carnivore diet. Now, for those people who are just like, yeah, no, I want this fixed yesterday. I need to start carnivore ASAP. Then at least do number two. And number two, I would say, is to go on a fast. I would recommend a 7-day fast. I have one on my video called where I talk about how I did a 7-day collagen and water fast where I just drank collagen powder and water for 7 days straight. And that was extremely healing to the gut as well as brought down a lot of inflammation. And it's a great way to reset your system because believe me, it needs some significant resetting and fasting does solve that problem. So if you have the grit, the mental stamina and ability to not eat food for 7 days and then start your carnivore, I think that would be advantageous to you. At minimum, do 3 days. I did 3 days before I started carnivore. I wanted to do 7 days, but I felt ready after 3 days. So something else to note is that you may go through something called medication withdrawal, depending on what medications you're on. If you're not on any, that is wonderful. However, if you are currently on a medication, like you are using steroids for your skin, or you're using, some sort of antibiotic-based cream for your acne, or whatever the case is, something for your psoriasis, you perhaps most likely will go through a medication withdrawal. And the fact that you're doing it at the same time as carnivore, you might start to notice, you might think, oh my gosh, this is not working, I'm just getting worse. But really, it's just your medication withdrawal. So you can choose if you want to withdraw from your medication first, or if you want to withdraw with carnivore. I personally withdrew from Dupixent with carnivore, and that has been very successful for me. I also did not have a lot of Dupixent in my system to withdraw from in the first place. So that's something to note. Next thing is the healing crisis. Everybody goes through healing crisis. So I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how slowly you try to ease into this. At some point, your body's going to be like, yeah, now you're moving. You're going from being someone who burns sugar for fuel to someone who becomes fat adapted. You're going to starve all the candida in your body because now you will not be eating anything that feeds candida. And so your body is going to go through a healing crisis. Now, what that looks like for everybody varies. For myself, it was a little bit of headache, brain fog, and very, very like low mood, just kind of, I felt flat and I was super tired. Like some of those early days of me being on this diet, I slept one of the times for like 11 hours straight. I could take now, like I was sleepy, sleepy, sleepy Simon, and I was sleeping in a way I've never slept before. Like the depth and quality of that sleep was so good. To this day, I sleep really, really well on carnivore. So that, it's just something that I think is how my body has gone through a healing crisis. For some, they get covered in rash. They have diarrhea. They're just different things can happen for different people. So, you know, be ready. Be ready for the healing crisis. To help with that, I would also recommend you need to track your food. So at least for the first 30 days, track food and symptoms. Every day, write what you've eaten and write how you're feeling. And this way you can begin to kind of figure out if you have any food sensitivities within the carnivore diet. So, and that brings me to my number 6 point is that if you're trying to heal your skin, you need to be very careful about eggs and dairy. Some people, their carnivore consists of dairy and others consist of eggs. Mine does not consist of any of those, and anytime I try to bring in a little bit of eggs, I get a flare. And I've tested that on about 2 or 3 different occasions, and so I think it's safe to say your girl can't have eggs no more. But just don't start with the dairy. Take out the dairy and take out the eggs at first. This is specifically if you're dealing with skin. If you're dealing with other things, maybe it would be fine for you. But for skin, take them out and then bring them in, periodically and see how your skin does. Because it really is ultimately an elimination diet. So the more you can eliminate, the better you will be able to use your body's feedback to let you know when you bring things back in, if they work versus if they don't. All right. So the next thing you need to do is eat a lot of fat. Eat a lot of fat and you're not going to get fat, I promise. I've actually lost 9 pounds since going carnivore. I think a lot of it was just inflammation around my face, my stomach. She's flat. Your girl's flat, flat, flat. No bloating and a little bit of weight, but not too much. I don't want to lose any more weight. So I eat a lot of fat for that reason as well. For some people, they come into carnivore wanting to lose weight or needing to lose weight, and it's perfect. It's a perfect diet for the person who's trying to lose weight because it will use the fat for fuel. But if you already are on the slimmer side, then you might not feel so good as your body, you're slimming down too quickly or, that. So it's really important to keep your fat up. Fat also helps build the building blocks of healing your skin. So the fat is what's going to give you the glow. The fat is what's going to build, those proteins back in the skin and all the science surrounding it. You can look it up, but fat is your friend. All right. So eat a lot of fat. I put 4 tablespoons of butter in my coffee every day. I saute everything in butter, ghee, whatever, tallow. Actually, I don't really use much tallow because it's expensive. But, the point is eating fatty parts of the meat, eating the skin of things, like get that fat. And if you have a hard time with the mental element of like, I'm eating fat, just think fat equals my skin. That's now when I'm eating the fat, that's what I think of. Every time I'm drinking my buttery coffee, I'm just thinking, wow, this is contributing to the glow. It's all in mind. All right. Number 9, this is interesting because when you make this type of choice, everybody and their mom is going to be very concerned. They're going to be worried about your nutritional health. I will say, I find it ironic when people get worried that you're just eating meat when they literally had no issues with you drinking Starbucks every other day and eating pizza all the time, and no one had problems with that. But you eat only meat and everyone's like, ooh, girl, you better be careful. Anyway, so a way to sort of kind of deal with that is to just tell people you are on an elimination diet. And a lot of times people can accept that. You can say I'm on an elimination diet for 30 days or for 90 days. And right now I am in the meat phase. If you don't want to say something like, I'm going carnivore, I'm not eating meat, I would refrain from saying things like, I'm never eating any other foods again, or I'm going to do this for life. Like, unless you're ready to debate people on it, because it's a controversial subject. Many people have their opinions about whether or not carnivore is sustainable in the long term. I also recommend doing a lot of your own research when it comes to the carnivore diet because, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So the more research you have about it, you'll feel a lot more confident. You don't need to debate everybody about your health. And once you start to see the results that start to speak for yourself, it's less a debatable topic. People will be like, wow, like your skin is better. My dad saw me and he's like, your skin, I haven't seen your skin look like this in a really long time. And so that was like, yeah, well, I'm just eating meat right now. So my dad does know I'm on a carnivore diet, but if you're at work or just in settings where you don't really want to get into it all, you can just say you're on an elimination diet. It's just a little bit less controversial than carnivore, and it sparks less conversation if you're just not in the mood to talk about it. Sometimes we're just not, right? All right, 90-day minimum and 30-day target. You cannot really know if this is going to help and heal your skin if you don't do this for at minimum 90 days. Now, that can sound like a very long time. So you need a 30-day target that can just be a checkpoint that you can just see if the needle is moving in the right direction. For myself, the needle moved very quickly. I would say 2 weeks into the journey. And once the needle moves, you probably can do this forever because you'll be so excited to see your skin look different. But you need to at least give yourself that 30-day first checkpoint to be like, okay, like, how am I looking? How is this impacting my skin? Take pictures, of course, before and after. And yeah. So at number 11, this is only for ladies, but you can have hormonal flares. This is something that happens to me. It just recently happened to me that all of a sudden I was having a flare and I'm thinking, what the heck, this went away. And I realized it was associated with my time of the month. And so interestingly though, since being on carnivore, my time of the month doesn't come with all the bells and whistles. Usually like she's come around the mountain, guns blazing, emotions high. And Aunt Flo this time around, she was quiet. I didn't even realize she was coming. No PMS symptoms, nothing. And that really surprised me, but I still did get that monthly inflammation. So just pay attention. That's why going back to the tracking, pay attention to that. Always note that perhaps around your time of the month, you may experience elevated levels of inflammation just because I think progesterone begins to drop in the body and your hormones change. And so that can cause temporary inflammation. And literally that went away within like 2 or 3 days. So I always tend to get itchier around time of the month. I did not get any hormonal acne this time round. Usually I would just get like maybe one pimple, not even one. So that was pretty exciting. So yeah. So those are like 11 things I think you need to know if you're trying to heal your skin through a carnivore diet. I do notice that most people, their skin turns over very, very quickly on carnivore. So the 30 days is usually all it takes for you to begin to see a change, and 90 days, I'm assuming, is just full healing. I've only been doing this for 6 weeks, so we're still in those infant stages, but what has happened to me in less than 6 weeks is nothing short of a miracle. Like I'm just amazed by my skin texture, its ability to retain moisture, and just even things like evening out my complexion. So maybe, when I was on Dupixent, my skin was maybe less inflamed, but I still had a lot of hyperpigmentation issues I had to deal with, right? Whereas now my complexion is all like one color or close to one color. It's amazing what has happened just through diet. So I really do encourage you, if you have acne, if you have rosacea, if you have, eczema, if you have psoriasis, right? Or just even just dull, lifeless skin, give carnivore diet a try and keep things in mind. Like I said, stay away from things like eggs and dairy for sure. Get lots of good fats into your diet. That buttery coffee, I have buttery black coffee. That's like my new beauty secret, right? And oh, here's my last. This is for free. This is for free. Try using beef tallow on your skin. I think that has been, it's like, why not go carnivore all the way? We're going to be eating only animal products and applying animal products. But those 12 things, I think everyone needs to note if they are trying to heal their skin. And it's worth a try. So comment down below if you are going to consider doing a carnivore. Let me know what your skin issues are. I'd love to hear about it and talk to you about how you can make steps with carnivore to bring healing. If you know anybody who could benefit, like that has skin issues, please forward this video to them. It just allows my content to get out in front of more people. I've had eczema my entire life, and I didn't know something as simple as just this type of diet would heal me. Like, it just feels like unfortunate that I had to go almost 40 years suffering this way. And I really think that this needs to become a first line of defense when it comes to trying to heal your skin. And at the very least, if you try it and it doesn't work, at least you know you can rule out diet and you can begin to look at other factors. But a lot of times we haven't the furthest clue as to what's causing our issues, and we don't even know where to start. You're trying this product, that product, you're all over the place. So I really appreciate that the carnivore diet is a simple way to figure out what's wrong with your skin. And so far it has brought healing for me and healing for many. So anyway, until next time,